So hello and welcome to our webinar on ISO certifications. My name is Robert Crosby. I've been working with QMS International, who is a sister company of Citation, for just over 3 years. I'm in my 4th year now, and I specialise in ISOs for 9001 quality, 14001 the environment, 45,001 health and safety, and I also look at ISO 27001 for information security, amongst other things. Today, I'd just like to give everybody an indication of the type of audience that we've got. We've got a mixture of citation clients and some others as well who deal with QMS, who have come along for further information about ISOs and how they can help your business. I'm hoping that the presentation will be informative for everyone that's present today. If you do have any questions throughout the presentation or the webinar, feel free to put the questions in the bottom right-hand corner. I think there's a special box down there for you to type your questions. I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to cover enough material in here so it gives everybody a few extra insights. But again, if you do have any further questions, please put them in the box below. And then when we get towards the end of the webinar, I'll open up the floor and have a Q&A session. So I'm hoping that everybody gets a chance to obviously get any questions or any extra information or insights that they may want to ask as a result of attending this webinar. Right. So as we all know, we're looking at ISO certifications, and generally speaking, what we're trying to understand is what the ISO certifications are for, and understand them more than them just being a badge. Today's presentation in a nutshell will be covering these main points. So we'll be discussing what is an ISO. We'll be discussing business benefits for productivity and efficiency, cost savings, customer satisfaction, resilience and adaptability, and the external advantages of implementing ISOs. Now, I'm sure that we'll be discussing other things that interrelate to those bullet points that you see on screen, but effectively those are some of the advantages that businesses take on ISOs and rise to the challenge on implementing those ISOs in the business. We'll also be touching on benefits of popular ISOs. So we'll be looking at 9001, 14001, 27001 and 45,001. And hopefully I'm going to be able to give everybody some insights and some examples on some of the things that I've experienced with working within ISOs, implementing ISOs, and obviously certifying and auditing to those ISOs as well. So ISOs in a nutshell. When we think about ISOs and the uses of ISOs, they effectively help your business create a framework by which that business can operate. So if you're choosing, be it a 45,001 or a 9001 quality related, health and safety, what the ISO is effectively helping you to do, it's helping you to structure your business so that you're doing the correct things in terms of driving improvement forward, driving efficiencies forward, managing health and safety, managing information security. So above everything else, it's this framework that the organization can center on it, and it gives you and your teams a way of organizing your systems so that you know that you're looking and you're looking for and driving improvement throughout your business. Different standards offer different things, which we are going to go into throughout this presentation. But generally, what we're looking for when we implement an ISOs is a way of recognizing what we do, and where we either don't achieve that through the mechanisms in the standard, or we don't achieve it operationally. It's also giving you the mechanisms there that will help you correct these things, so that ultimately you're not always what I call firefighting. And in essence, if you can carry out your operations and your work and your processes as efficiently as possible, it's going to allow you and your people to be more efficient in what they do and spend more time on doing rather than firefighting and keep correcting. I think it is fair to say that we have a wide range of businesses, or we engage with a wide range of businesses, and each business it can be unique in its own right. We have large organizations that are multifaceted. They have many business units, so their management systems can be a bit more complex. Then if you flip the coin and look at the other side, we may have a very small business with only 1 or 2 employees, but equally as much that the organizations want to structure the business, it still provides the framework no matter how small or how large your organization is. And then I think by looking at what you've done within implementing your ISOs and structuring your business, you can see that it's actually giving your organization the tools that will allow you to correct mistakes, hopefully prevent mistakes from happening again, and therefore driving that efficiency and that improvement throughout your business. So ultimately, that's going to allow organizations to be better equipped so that they can grow, adapt, and improve on their performance overall. I think it's worth just indicating really at this initial stage that when we think about ISOs, a lot of organizations do actually implement ISOs and really run their business in that framework. And then we also get some feedback that it's just a badge. Well, actually, ISOs isn't just a badge. I've been working within the ISO arena for around 20 years, and from my experience, if you're using your ISOs and your management systems to drive your business forward, it becomes a journey. It can actually have an effect on changing culture within organizations, providing that you obviously give it the resources that it needs, and that you can work within the ISOs without having any detrimental effect on your business. So if you think about the ISOs themselves, it allows you to structure your processes. It allows you to see about the things that you've done, the things that have to be done. It allows you to look at, analyze negative and positive trends, and it helps create learning and improvement within the organization. It actually also empowers teams to carry out their job roles and their functions more efficiently. And by doing that, you empower them to manage their areas or their functions within a structured framework. It helps to develop managers as well. They will see the benefits of implementing ISOs, and it is a journey, because when I say that it's a journey, not everybody understands what the benefits are immediately, and sometimes it may be only a 12-month period before you see the benefits. Some benefits might be even sooner. For other organizations, it becomes a longer period of time, but actually now when they have the records that they generate as part of the management systems and they see how it's organizing the business, they can see how their objectives have been used to the best effect, shall we say. The responsibility, the roles and responsibilities of staff, people feel empowered enough to help the organization run the ISOs because they're part and parcel, and so they should be in any case, because I think it's the people within your organizations that are going to spot things at operational level. They're going to be able to feed that back into the management teams, and therefore you're actually developing a culture there for improvement. And by implementing ISOs and getting staff involved, you're actually developing all employees' awareness of the management systems, no matter whether it's at operational level, management level, or senior management level. And it's quite an important journey to take for most organizations, because they're not always necessarily aware of all the full benefits, and as I said, the benefits do become apparent generally within the first year of implementing an ISO. So, as we've established right from some of the beginning slides, some of the popular ISOs are displayed in front of you. So the 9001 is in relation to quality, and that generally looks at quality processes within your business, It looks at your inquiry processes, it looks at your production processes, and it helps to keep a check and also a monitoring on the way that you're delivering your products and services to clients. Ultimately, we want client satisfaction, and the quality management system helps you to deliver that. And it also helps you to fine tune things where maybe you see that you're not delivering it as well as you could. The 14,001 is in relation to the environment, and it's there to really help businesses understand what their environmental aspects are and what their impacts are. So anybody who's used to health and safety, you may have heard the term hazards and risks. For the environment, the general terms within the standard is aspects and impacts. So it's effectively looking at the risks and controlling those risks, and ultimately helping you as an organization to understand what them principal risks are, and where possible trying to control and reduce those impacts. The ISO 27001, it's about looking at your information security, setting up a framework whereby functional teams across your business, whether they be from IT, whether they be from HR, whether they be from production, or whether they be in general office environments. Effectively, what the 27001 does, it helps you to make sure that your information systems and your controls on equipment and assets, they're all controlled and they're being managed. Obviously, it's quite big at the moment, and it has been for quite a number of years, especially when we think about GDPR, and also the drive over the last 9-10 months looking at remote working and how organizations are using cloud-based systems more than they are just network systems that are based within offices. Then we're looking at 45,001, which is the health and safety standard. And again, like the other standards, that's just creating a framework by which you can ensure that your hazards and risks are controlled, that you have certain processes and procedures, safe working practices, that you have effectively all the right mechanisms in place that will help you comply with all your relevant legislation, including the Health and Safety Work at Law Act. So that's in a nutshell, that's the kind of systems that we'll be really sort of focusing on throughout today's presentation. So, tools for business development. So as I've mentioned earlier, by setting up a framework by which you can manage your either environment, health and safety, information security, what the ISO is effectively going to allow you and your organization to do is formalize that process. And by doing that, you may create procedures, you may create documents, but it gives the organization a full understanding of what is being done and what needs to be done for perhaps new starters of the organization. And once those processes are in place, we've got a standard way of operating then, so people actually are aware and can come together as one and drive the machine, as I call it, drive the delivery of your products and services forward, drive the improvement of health and safety, maintaining health and safety, maintaining the protection of the environment, etc. So again, product inefficiencies is driven through the quality standards. Customer satisfaction, it's a key component of the 9001 standard. And again, I think overall, when we look at any of those standards, resilience and adaptability is one of the key features. It's going to give the organization, its customers, and the people within it the confidence to know that actually things are being managed, and they're being managed in an understandable fashion, and you know, we can effectively manage these processes without a lack of understanding, and it becomes obviously particularly important when we have instances like we have over the last 9 months with COVID. The management systems will effectively drive that from a home working point of view as well. People will understand from the processes and systems what needs to be done. They can read on it. They can also create conversations with the management teams as well to gain better understanding. The examples that's on the screen at the moment is from a client, and the advantage that it's given that particular client. Again, it's all about giving the company confidence, giving the management team assurance that things can be done and can be done better in some cases. And again, I think what really is pointed out in that testimony there is the fact that it's been done in a professional manner, and we all want to be professional in the work that we do. Productivity and efficiencies. So the implementation of a system, as I've said before, it will drive improvement. It will make sure that things are being done right first time. I'm sure that a lot of people have probably heard that saying, do things right first time, and that's what the aims of the ISO is trying to do. We do realize that things can happen, but I think it's all about what you do about the things that you're not achieving or that you want to achieve. And certainly ISOs help you to drive that forward. They will make your businesses more efficient, more sustainable, more secure, and more productive. And the results of all that is that you become cost effective. Because as I said earlier, the less time that you spend firefighting and dealing with issues and actions that keep repeating themselves, the more time that you've got to draw in more business, bring in more business, and even improve the product, or even offer more products and services than you currently do. So again, the productivity and efficiency side, you'll know who's responsible for what. You'll know what each stage of the process is, and you'll know how well each task is performed, because you'll have checking sheets. You may have electronic systems that's actually recording some of this, then facilitating it for you. It's all management information that feeds in so that the senior management team can make good decisions, at the times that they're meeting. And that might be on a monthly basis, it might be on a weekly basis, it might be on an annual basis, but at least all that information's being fed into them so that they can make good informed choices and decisions. And I think one common theme that you will see that is apparent throughout the webinar today is the ISOs create a lot of opportunity, and it's about driving that opportunity and continual improvement. As I've indicated, right first time, getting things right, it allows you to drive your business forward, bring in more products and services. Once you've got a management system in place, people can follow it. People know that there's a common way of doing things, and that obviously gives repeatability. We know that we don't have to spend time on training lots of extra people, because actually once the ISOs have been implemented, it almost becomes part of your operating rhythm. And that's really applies to whether it's an office environment, a production environment, or like an IT based environment where you've got a server running in a server room, or a data center. Effectively, your management systems can help structure this and help you reduce risk and errors. So this is one of my favorite slides of the presentation, and I think the reason why it's one of my favorite slides is because this effectively, the diagram that you see on the right, plan, do, check, act cycle, this is effectively the continuous improvement cycle, and I'll demonstrate this very, very simply. So when we have organizations, generally we want to plan things to do things. So we plan them, we may create objectives, we may create time plans. Effectively, that plan then sets out what we need to do. So we then do things, we do as actions, we create new products, whatever it might be. And then after a period of time, we want to check on the things that we've done. And effectively, as the diagram there states there, we're checking to see whether what we've done is actually effective and it's in line with what we expected. Now, what we get sometimes is we may have 70% of what we've done is exactly as we've expected, but 30% of it we need to do extra things. So that's where the ACT comes in. And continually throughout the business year, as people are operating the business, this is going on constantly. We're planning things, we're doing things, we're checking to see if that they're working, and where they're not working, we're taking action. So then effectively, if we're taking action, it might be that we can take an instant action where it can be resolved very, very quickly. Or it might be that we require some more planning. It might take us 3 or 4 months to put that in. So we then come back onto planning, and the cycle then continues. We plan to do those actions, we do them, we check to see if that they're working, and if they are working, brilliant. But if they're not, we'll choose some additional actions, we'll plan those actions, and so on and so on. Now, I think the beauty of this diagram is the continual improvement cycle comes when you've done as much doing as you can, and you check it and it's actually correct, because effectively what you then do, you circumvent the need to act, and that allows you to plan either more work, different products, plan more improvements. So effectively you plan things, you're doing things, you've checked it, everything's absolutely as we expect it to be. There is no need for further action, so there is actually no need to act, and that's where the improvement cycle. That's where you get your improvement, when you reduce that need to do any actions. And I think, as I said earlier, the purpose of the management system itself is to make sure that you're looking at where you have had to act historically, and looking at corrective and preventative actions that will shut that out. Hopefully we'll put in a good enough action so that we don't need to act, and we can spend time on planning, as I say, new products, new marketing initiatives, new technology, because those are the type of things that are going to drive your business forward and ultimately deliver continuous improvement. Some of the text on the left hand side, it mentions the word non-conformities. So where that generally comes in, if we've got a process and we say that we do things in a certain order, and we've checked it and that order's not matching up with what we do, ISOs have a component within them called non-conformance reporting. So it's at that point that a non-conformance would be raised, and that can be internally or externally, via an audit party, or it may even be a supplier. But the non-conformities effectively will help you to summarize what actions you need to do, and then that will then drive the plan, do, check, act once again. So I hope everybody can get a feel for what that's delivering, because the diagram that you see on the right hand side, the Deming cycle, plan, do, check, act, it's fundamental to almost every ISO's and, believe it or not, government guidance, and we'll get onto that just in a short while. But effectively, that's quite an important component. It's quite simple to think about, but actually, if you think about what it delivers, I think it's a brilliant thing just to have in your psyche if you're implementing ISOs. Okay. So now that we've talked about plan, doing, and checking and acting, and we've also obviously identified where a non-conformity can come into the system, my comments about the non-conformities and trying to make sure that you put in effective corrective action so that drives the non-conformity to avoid repeat instances. That's effectively where it's going to support your productivity and efficiencies. It's also going to encourage people to have some problem solving and looking at the actual issues. And it might be a simple process where you're doing, for example, you're recording too much paperwork, and it can be rationalized. It might be that actually your production environment is actually positioned inefficiently, and just by spending a bit of time on looking at the orientation of the workplace, where certain workstations are, where certain parts of the production operations are carried out, it might be that you can reduce the amount of time things are being produced. So it's all about, again, looking at what your non-conformances are, looking at where your issues are, putting in effective measures there to correct them, and hopefully that will then encourage an improvement culture. and that can really be driven from grassroots level, right from the what I call the shop floor, right up until the management team, because people can get involved with this. If it's a product quality related issue, people who actually produce that product, they're experts at what they do, so they have got very clear insights on what they feel could improve it. Working with your management teams, it's really about bringing your teams together so that you're creating a common theme, and so that you can drive that improvement forward. And I've come from a background where we've used ISOs, and we've actually achieved this, and it actually gives people a real sense of achievement when they've been able to actually implement either a new products, a better way of doing things, and in some cases it's involved bringing in different and new technologies to make the job easier. So you include as many people as you can, or you feel is necessary, and they then become part of your improvement culture as well. Okay. One element that you'll find common amongst most ISOs, if not all of them, is internal audit and management review. So if we look back at our plan, do, check, act cycle, which is on there, the management review effectively and the internal audits is looking at the check-in. So we're taking a spot check on what we're doing at certain periods of time throughout the year. Now, again, depending on what management systems that you've got, you'll have a different audit program, and you may have different, depending on the size of your organization and the complexity, you may choose to have different numbers of management reviews. But effectively, both those mechanisms they're there to help the organization understand from an internal point of view what has gone on over the past 12 months or over the past 3 months. Can I check it? Can I evidence things that I've seen? Does it allude to the fact that we are actually performing as we should, or does it indicate that we've actually got a problem within our process, and it's an opportunity for us to improve? Then the management review it's almost like a performance appraisal for your management system. You know, how well have we done over the last year? How well have the production teams done? Have we got any KPIs that tell us that as product quality's gone down in the last 3 months, 6 months? Do we have any issues with recruitment? Do we have any resource issues? Do we have enough structure in our business that is just going to help us do all of this work, or even drive improvement? So again, the internal audit is very much a spot check, a quick check on your management system. Is it performing as we should? And the management review is almost a performance appraisal at set periods throughout the year, as where the management team sitting down and really getting an idea of how well those systems have been implemented, and how well they're working for you, and how much are they driving continuous improvement. Okay. One of the benefits that businesses have had by implementing ISOs is that it's allowed them to home in on what documents they're creating, making sure that those documents are containing the right information. Factual information becomes particularly important if you are producing products. Let's just say my favorite subject, chocolate bars. It's going to make sure that certain checks are being done on those chocolate bars, and that effectively throughout the chocolate bar production, everything's fallen into place in the right time, and we're arriving at a product there that we can actually send out to customers without any issues of getting any negative feedback. To all intents and purposes, that's effectively what the management systems help companies to do, getting it right first time, so that they have few complaints, little wastage, as minimal wastage, and where you do get wastage, it's about improving that process, so you don't have as many rejects, for example. It allows organizations really to break down what their products and services are delivering to clients, and again, where improvements can be made both in costs and the quality of the service that they may be delivering to clients as well. And I think with that one, the efficiency of each process, your results that come out of your ongoing monitoring from your systems, whether it be your HR systems, whether it be your computer systems, whether it be your production systems, it's going to allow you that to be fed back in a timely fashion to the management team. I.e., if things aren't going right, that can be fed back to management review, which then turns their light switches on to say, well, let's do something about this. Let's get it right. Let's so that we're not spending as much money on wastage or as much money on it as inefficiency. Okay. So a very good part of the 9001, obviously it's there's the service delivery aspect of 9001. It's about getting that right. But ultimately, if you can get your service delivery right and make sure that you're providing goods and services to a high standard, hopefully we're going to get low numbers of negative customer satisfaction, and we're going to have high numbers of good customer satisfaction. I think one of the things that I was taught when you think about quality of products and services is to exceed the customer's expectations. I think if you can do that and give people something that they really want, and in some cases give them more than what they thought they wanted, effectively you are going to be doing a good job. And the ISOs is obviously going to try and hone in on that and make sure that you're delivering that as best you can, really. So when you're looking at customer satisfaction, I'd just like to draw your attention to the diagram on the right hand side. So the ISOs really sit underneath this. They will help you define target markets. They'll help you understand what your customer needs are through customer inquiry process, the way that you actually take on board orders. They'll align your processes to the customer needs. Everybody wants things right now and they want it yesterday. So effectively, if you can deliver good quality products, right price, right time, effectively your customer's already going to be satisfied, and they're going to have very little opportunity there to say, well, actually I am happy with everything. There's nothing really negative I can say. I'm going to continue to trade with your organization because they give me what I need in the time frame that I need it. The ISOs, again, through the implementation of the ISOs, you're engaging the team through leadership. And I think if you have effective leadership mechanisms within your team, that's going to help drive efficiencies. It's going to help drive that product and improve products and services going forward. We've already indicated the measurement of results and implement key improvements. Hopefully you can start to understand that by actually looking at what you do, checking what you do, and actually not being afraid to identify where things could be done better. This is effectively what your ISO is going to achieve for you. It's the driving of that improvement. It's formalizing it. It's allowing you to put it in a framework where if you do need extra resources, and let's face it, there's usually the management team's bothered about what money they've got to spend. Well, it's going to help justify any improvements that you're going to make, whether it be a small allocation of resource or something more significant, for example, like robot technology in production. Depending on what the improvement is and what it's delivering, that's going to help the management team obviously give them justification of what capital expenditure should be applied to that, just as an example there. And then, I mean, generally, as you can see, all that's included in the ISO, the driving of that improvement, the monitoring, and throughout this process, it's a continual cycle. You know, businesses never stop, and neither does the ISO. It just that continuous circle that we've seen earlier, that just keeps on going and going and going, and it will help you and your organizations drive improvement. And as I said earlier, I believe that if organizations engage with this and use the management systems, it can help change cultures within an organization in a positive way. Right. When we talk about resilience and adaptability, one of the things that for any any organization that's present today that are either engaging in this process, that have started the process of implementing ISOs, or that they may have one or two ISOs and they're thinking of implementing more. One of the common themes that run through this is risk management. So what you can see in front of you, I'm sure that there'll be many people that will be used to the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats methodology. Effectively, it's strategic thinking. It's the team sitting down and them identifying what they believe they do well, what they believe they could do better, whether there are any opportunities there to grow the business. And again, you're looking at risks, so threats. What risks can affect our business at the moment? Everybody knows at the moment, and I'm going to say the obvious one, COVID-19. There might be many other threats that link to COVID-19, i.e. availability of staff. There might be other threats out there in terms of legislation. So what the ISOs are really generally also centered around, it's about risk management. And as long as businesses can understand what their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are, they've actually got a chance of actually addressing these and actually driving some opportunities forward. I think that one useful thing that the ISOs do is that it brings the teams together when you're thinking about SWOT analysis. It allows people, not just from senior management, but from even from lower members of the team, so managers, operational employees, administration employees. There are certain things that they may be aware of that can feed into this process, and it's a very good exercise that generally the ISOs will get you to look at as part of implementing an ISO. And then I think going forward, once you've done a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, I think one of the things that I see in when I engage with clients is a lot of what you see on screen at the moment. It's flying around in managers' heads. It's not necessarily documented anywhere or formalized. In some cases, it is in some organizations, but some organizations have this running around in the director's head or, the senior operation manager's head. But once it's down and you've got many people sitting around the table looking at this, it then becomes a driver for that improvement through your organization. And what you effectively do as well there is you share understanding across the board of what people think that can affect the business, and then it gives everybody a better idea of, well, actually, rather than just thinking things just from in my own bubble, as it were, I do appreciate what my colleagues are saying. I do appreciate that the director may have more experience in this area, so he or she may actually come up with a lot of this, and then other people may feed into it. I think the key thing about it is getting together, having a look at, don't be afraid to discuss what it is, and that's hopefully going to almost allow you to manage your business in terms of risks, see what those risks are. Okay. A very important one for many organizations, and in some cases it can be the main driver for organizations going for an ISO. We want to win that tender. We want to make sure that we're seen in the industry as doing the right thing. We want to make sure that other businesses understand what we do, because they may also implement ISOs. The businesses that you engage with may already have an ISO, and you want to be part of that process so that you can understand that actually you've got the confidence in knowing that your partners are managing their business in a very similar fashion to yourself. And it might also extend to some of your suppliers as well. Making sure that your suppliers are ISO registered ensures that, for example, the motor trade's a very good one for this one. If anybody needs components in the motor trade, be it brake discs, they need to make brake discs. I'm going to give a few more examples. Brake discs, electrical components for cars, plastic trim, etc. They're going to need to make sure that those supply chains are actually manufacturing things as well as they should be doing, so that it creates the actual car companies, it creates less hassle for the car company when they put all them components together, so that they get fewer non-conformances, shall we say. I think one good thing that we do find once you've got an ISO is the tender process itself. I've been through several tender processes, supplier questionnaires, etc., and it's not unheard of to sometimes spend nearly half a day's work and getting that tender done, getting all the documents together, getting a pack so that you can send it to that prospective client or supplier. Now, with the ISO, there is elements within it where some questionnaires, they may just say, have you got an ISO 9001 management system? If so, turn to page 35. You turn to page 35 and it may ask another question. Oh, have you got an ISO 14001 management system? Oh, yes, I have. Here's my details. And because you've got those management systems, you don't have to sit there and get all that information together and answer each one of those questions, because you're effectively, your certification will confirm that you're doing all the right things anyway. Your valid certification, sorry. And again, I think that you can probably appreciate when you've got other people in your industry that are running ISOs, at least you've got that assurance that they're actually managing their systems in an organized way, that they're looking at potential opportunity for improvement. They're also managing risk. And again, it's adding to that assurance. Okay. So I'm just going to summarize some of the things that some of the management systems actually deliver, and I'm going to go through the four management systems as I identified from the beginning. So the ISO 9001, we're talking really about the quality. So yes, it's about production quality, it's about service delivery quality of service, customer feedback. It's effectively how you're delivering your products and services, how you're dealing with your potential customers and existing customers, and also about how you're dealing with your suppliers. So it's effectively managing that process. And again, as I've said earlier, there it can help you increase your efficiencies. It can help you deal with things in a very efficient way. You've got generally by implementing ISOs, you'll have documented records. Almost you'll have a footprint of what you've needed to do over the last year. Say we get to the end of the year, we want to look at what we've done. Well, we've got management system records there that we can have a look at, we can analyze. And I think what the thing that I found with any ISOs is, as you're implementing ISOs or working within ISOs, they actually give you a footprint. So you can not only look back on the last 3 months, well, actually, you can look back at historical records and you can look, where were we 3 years ago? Well, we were spending X amount of hours a week dealing with quality issues. Where are we now? Well, actually, as a result of the improvements that we've made, we don't deal with, we may get 3 issues a month maximum, or 2 issues a month, or in some cases, it's only 1 or 2 per year. And you know as well as I do, what's generally happened then is that they've driven that improvement of the organization. They're not firefighting anymore, and it's allowed them to spend the time that they would normally have done doing that, driving the business forward, bringing in more businesses, thinking about implementing or even creating different products. I think everybody's heard of the right first time methodology. Again, a very heavily used one in quality. It's encouraging that approach, get it right first time, and the more people within your organization that can help drive that through the business, the more chance you've got of obviously improving your business generally. With the 9001, it's going to help you to realize your relationships with your suppliers and your customers. It's going to help you to recognize where you're actually doing things really well, and actually, hopefully, if we get the customer feedback that's constructive, or where it tells us we've not done as well, at least it's then giving you the notification there of, right, let's work on this and let's get this right, so we don't let these customers or suppliers down again. And ultimately, within the 9001, because you're driving that customer satisfaction, that's what we want, isn't it? As I've said earlier, we want high levels of customer satisfaction, and hopefully the 9001 will drive that forward for you, and it'll increase your reputation at the same time. You'll become known in the industry of being a really well-organized organization that always delivers. we can't say better than that, can we? And again, just to sort of tie up on this one, the assurance that you're giving your clients, your customers, your suppliers, even though you do get a certificate, or in some cases people call it a badge, you get your logos to say that you're certified. When you actually look at what you've actually put in place to deliver that badge, that's what's important. It's not just the fact that you've got it on your website. It's the fact that you've actually gone on that journey and you've realized where you can do better, and you've driven that forward. And effectively that's what's going to satisfy your clients, knowing that they're going to get either great products, great services at the right time, at the right price as well. So the ISO 14001 environmental management, it's the framework that helps businesses look at what their environmental impacts are. Different organizations have different levels of impacts. Some are only quite minimal, just by virtue of them only being very small. But larger organizations, when you think about the environment, they can have dramatic impacts on the environment. So the difference between for example, the difference between a company that shampoos and washes dogs have got a minimal impact. For example, chemicals that do dog grooming, that they may have some small elements of waste that they have to control. When you look at an organization like that, and then you look at an organization like a manufacturer that has 52 business units that may manufacture chocolate bars, concrete. There's a lot of things going on in larger organizations, and the larger organizations generally have to think about what's their impact on the environment. Are they taking resources from the land? What raw materials are they needing to manage? Do they have to take on board where they're operating? For example, factories in residential areas or close to residential areas, they've got to watch what dust they're emitting to the environment effectively. Waste processes, we find a lot of waste processes on like industrial estates and things, but some waste processes are very close to neighborhoods and communities. So it's about it becomes more important as the environment, making sure that they're complying to the right legislation. Do they run permits, as an example? So all these things feed into that environmental management system, and certainly the 14001 gets you to look at what your main aspects and impacts are. And remember, aspects and impacts equals hazards and risks. It's effectively just you looking at what your impact is on the environment, what risks that you pose to not just the immediate environment, but obviously the local environment, the wider environment, and how you're complying with legislation. And the 14001 helps you put that into a framework. It ensures that you're looking at the right things, that you've got the right check sheets. And again, by running that within a management system framework, you're going to have the same components as we discussed earlier. So you're going to have opportunities for improvement. You're going to have risk registers, perhaps. You're going to have non-conformances that help you drive that in spot where you've gone wrong, and actually allow your business to put it right. I think some of the external benefits of implementing the 14001 is ensuring that organisations maintain their reputation. We all want a good reputation, and by managing your environmental risks effectively, you're showing other people, not just businesses. You're actually showing the environmental agency that you're running things in an organised fashion and in a controllable fashion, and ultimately your staff are going to see that actually you are doing things right, and you're a responsible organisation. And I think demonstrating commitment to the environmental performance, that's another good point for implementing an ISO 14001. You are effectively telling all your external parties that we are doing the right things, and actually we are running it in an organized fashion. Okay. So the ISO 27001 is about information security. So building on what we already know, it's a framework that allows organizations to manage their information security, information systems, data security. And I think that the biggest sort of driver for this in a lot of business is the GDPR legislation. Now, the ISO 27001 goes beyond just GDPR. It really gets you to look at your business in terms of physical security, how you're managing your assets, whether you're complying with the latest legislation, and it also helps people within the organization understand what a hard job usually the IT team have in trying to control all this. Now ultimately, by implementing a 27001, because of the nature of what it is, you do get actually more people involved in this, because whenever you go through and look at the 27001, it's not just about the IT team, it's actually about how the managers are managing it at operational level, how the office managers manage the office environment, how individual employees manage their behaviors in terms of looking after your information and the data that you may be processing. So there are a lot of factors within the 27001, and it's a really good framework to make sure that the organizations are looking at information security and managing that in a well organized and robust fashion. Again, risk management sits at the heart of this. What do we look at when we think about GDPR? It's about what risks have we got in terms of personal information. Are we looking after people's data? Well, the management system on 27001 really puts that in a framework for you and allows you to manage that in an organized way. And the external benefits from that one, as you would imagine, is that people understand you've got a certain level of understanding in managing your information security. You're not just managing it ad hoc. You've got a professional way that you actually run in your systems, that you check in your systems, and actually a lot of this may be automated for some organizations through management portals and through software, but effectively what the 27001 do is going to bring that all together for you and help your management teams, your senior management team, help them understand what things really need to be looked at as part of the ISO 27001. And I think a very important point, as the last bullet point on there indicates, it almost gives clients and customers, it gives them the assurance, it creates trust, because they know that you're running things in that organized fashion. And I think trust is quite an important word on that one, because we want to feel confident in knowing that if we have to engage with customers, that they're looking after whatever information and data we're transferring over to them or even sharing with them. Okay, and then the ISO 45001. So this really kind of aligns very much like the 14001. Remember the things we talked about legislation. Remember the things that we talked about the check-in mechanisms that organization has in place to help manage your 45001. The 14,001, we looked at aspects and impacts. Well, primarily when you look at 45,001, it's looking at your hazards and risks. So you can see that common theme that we mentioned earlier, risk management. This is very much part of the ISO 45001. Now, the thing that I do like about the 45001, if I just flick back to this little diagram that we seen earlier, Plan, Do, Check, Act, this actually also comes into the 45001, the health and safety standard. But what it also, I'd like you to really make you aware of, that the Plan, Do and Check, Act cycle, when you look at health and safety, and if anybody's ever been on the HSE website, there are certain ACOPs and guidance that the HSE put out that's freely available to anybody that give people an understanding of what they should be doing to implement certain legislation or certain guidance. Now, there is a piece of guidance that HSE have called HSG 65. Now, HSG 65 is fundamentally the basics of a 45001 system. Now, if I said in principle, if you've already implemented a 45001 system, you are already by default implementing HSG 65, the guidance that the HSE actually require most organizations to do. So this is a neat one, because I think a lot of organizations are probably doing this, and they're probably already implementing some aspects of that, but they may not have necessarily thought about it in the same way that we've talked about it today. Now, this again, it sits at the heart of HSG 65. It sits at the heart of the ISO 45001, and it's a really good way of demonstrating not only to the HSE that you're compliant to HSG 65, but it's also now creating a wider framework by which organizations can manage the legislation and regulations. It's also encouraging health and safety behaviors within the organization. I think the big thing with the Health and Safety at Work Act, and also the 45001, it's actually focusing on health and safety behavior, continuous improvement, making sure that we're doing as much as possible to reduce these hazards and risks to effectively protect the people that we're working with, and also give your customers also the confidence in knowing that you're looking after your staff, and that you can manage your health and safety in a very much a proactive way. One major component that you've probably seen that is consistent is this continual improvement. I mentioned it right from the start, and it's effectively, it's almost been almost all the way through the webinar today. And I think that is one thing that you'll take away from any ISO that you implement. It's about continual improvement, no matter whether it's about safety, information security, quality. It's all about making sure you can drive improvement and identify where you can do things better, and that's one of the most common themes. As you can see, some of the things that we've already discussed on external benefits, it's giving your customers, suppliers, clients, it's giving them the confidence to know that you're committed to health and safety, that you're looking after your staff. And also, should any of your partners, suppliers, customers come onto your site or into your organization, they'll have the confidence in knowing, well, actually, that's a safe place for my employees to be. So, generally, we can engage with these people with as little fuss as possible. They've got the right systems in place to manage things, and if mistakes happen, well, effectively they've got mechanisms in place to deal with it. So I hope that sort of slide that we've just talked about has been of use. And as I said, there is the HSE website for things that'll for guidance on different aspects of legislation for health and safety, but in a nutshell, the ISO 45001, it'll bring all that together. It'll get your organization really to start understanding the key things that needs to be included as part of managing this management system. And as I said earlier, different organizations of different sizes will require different things. So for one organization in engineering, there might be a lot of things on there that's obviously sort of manual handling related, engineering related, power tools related. For office environments, there's probably less in there, and it's more DSE assessment related. But effectively, I think if you've got health and safety really sits at the heart of any organization, whether you've got one employee or 500 or more employees. I think you've got a responsibility for health and safety. Even operate as a one person organization, they've got certain responsibilities under the Health and Safety at Work Act to make sure that they're behaving correctly and that they're not affecting anybody else's health and safety when they're out working on within different organizations. So potentially that can affect absolutely everybody, all organizations of all sizes. So we're coming towards the end of the webinar now. There will be a set of links that is available as part of the actual presentation that you've seen on screen today. I think that what we'll do in a moment is we'll open up for the Q&As in a moment, but the presentation will provide you with some links there if you want to get in touch with us. And also what will happen is towards the, I don't think it'll be today, is within the next day or so, everybody who's attended the webinar will get an email with the details of this actual presentation, so they'll be able to look over the presentation again. They'll be able to remind themselves on some of the topics that we covered. So hopefully you'll find that useful later on. And again, that'll just help people just to recap on those slides. So what I'd like to do now is to open up on any of the questions that we've got. If you just bear with me for a moment while I so I luckily I have a moderator working in the background, so I'm just wondering whether the moderator can does anybody have any questions? I think there's been a question there on whether the slides will be sent to us. Yes, they will. Effectively, when the team finalize the webinar, you'll get a copy of obviously the slides, as I've already said. Just give me a second there. Okay then, and yeah, does anybody have any questions on any of the topics that? This is my favorite part of the webinar, to be fair, and I've not got many other questions, but certainly please feel free, if you have got any questions, let me know. No matter how big or how small, I'm certainly in a position to answer them, and I'll be glad to answer those for you. Oh, okay, so. Well, I think I've done a reasonably good job then today. If we've not got any questions, hopefully I've been clear about that one. As I've said, what will happen from now is you will receive an email with some details and some contact information in there. And that will contain a copy of the actual webinar slides, etc. in there. And if later down the line you do have any further questions, here we go. We have got a question. Brilliant. So this is from Colin. So thanks very much for this question, Colin. We are looking to gain 9,001 for the first time. How long realistically to achieve? Well, it's a common question, and really it depends. It depends on how. It depends on what you may have already in place. I mean, we can help you put in the right mechanisms to actually get your 9,001. I mean, I think the process is generally we'd have a consultancy, and then we'd look to see at what you do currently do, what you currently have in place, and then we marry that up. So I mean, some organizations can achieve the 9,001 because they're doing many of the right things. They don't just necessarily document some of the requirements, but generally some organizations can achieve it in a month. Sometimes it takes a bit longer because they've got more things to put in place, and it can be 3 months. Some even take longer, and they might take 9 months. So again, it depends how confident you feel on being able to implement a system, how much you know about what's in your business. And it generally helps if I do a consultancy, if I'm sitting with the right people when I'm undertaking that consultancy that can ask the right questions. And that's often it's senior management. It might be sometimes the director of the company that I'm sitting with to actually ask those questions. I know there is one thing for sure, that we obviously do provide help and support with getting that done for you, and we've got a fantastic record of helping organisations implement 9,001 systems. So, and the way that I think most of my colleagues that I work with, nothing's insurmountable. We can pretty much help you with absolutely everything, and we try and do it in a very straightforward fashion that's easy to understand as well. So we have a question from Baldwin Design. We are an architectural firm. How would the ISO structure fit with our design-based product? It is not a standard product that we produce. So when we look at, and I'm gonna sort of match this up with a 9001 system, because the 9001 system, as we've already identified, it deals with you manufacturing or developing products and services for clients. And actually the ISO structure fits absolutely brilliantly with design-based products, because there's a specific requirement within 9001 for clients who do design that look at how that design process is done. So in very much short, when you look at your design process and you look at what you do for design, do you do prototypes? Do you you obviously have to get specifications or potential specifications. You may design things, you have drawings, etc. Things like that have to go through a verification and validation process. So the ISO structure, it'll help you arrange that in such a fashion where that becomes part of your ISO. And even if it's just one product you design or 20 products, the ISO 9001 definitely gets you to look at how that design is realized, how that inquiry for that design comes in, to the point of that then being a design being created, it being verified, validated, and to the point at which you can then charge the customer for the services that you've provided. We have many design and architectural companies within Citation and QMS, so it's not something that we're not, we're quite familiar with those types of organization. And really, just to clarify on your point there about it being a standard product, it's really not. It doesn't really matter whether it's a standard product or not. That management system will help you create a framework that'll help you manage with standard products and non-standard products. Would you, sorry, this is from Barry Whitley or Whiteley. I'm sorry if I've got that pronounced incorrectly, but great question, Barry. Would you advise us to go for 9001 before 27001? Now, we do have a lot of clients that have gone for 9001 and then they build onto that, obviously, and then go for the 27001 down the line. Now, if you like to if you're an organization or your approach is you like to do things, you like to sort of do one thing and then move on and then sort of do another thing, then I would, from a personal point of view, I think it's probably easier that you go for 9001 than 27001. However, if you was an IT company or a data center, for example, and 27001, it might be a certification that your clients and customers and such the like are asking for. It might be more relevant to go for a 27001. However, what I'm also going to say is, Barry, we also do an integrated product for 9000 and 27001, and if I'm being genuinely honest with you, if you're considering 9 and 27, then if you're starting from effectively from scratch with it, there is no reason why you can't use that as an IMS product, an integrated product where we look at doing your 9001 and 27001 at the same time. Granted, it does take a bit longer to actually generate the required documents and things. It takes a bit more time, but I think that the 9001 does sit quite well with the 27001 anyway. It depends how thirsty are you for implementing new things, and how soon are you comfortable with getting things done. How much would you rise to a challenge? I think if you're thinking about 9000 and 27001 almost at the same time, I'd even look at it doing it as an integrated one and getting it both done at the same time. So this question's from Kate Prescott. After achieving a certification, how soon do you recommend that we carry out internal audits? A very good question, a very common question. So my advice to any clients is, don't leave it for 11 months and 20 days before you start doing internal audits, because we'll be actually coming to visit you within that, at the end of that 12-month period. Now, the way that we'll take the 9001 as an example. When you actually implement a 9001 system, generally what you'll be looking at when you're looking at your internal audits is you'll have an audit program, and then obviously that program will then facilitate when you carry out your audits. Now, if you're new to ISOs and you're new to auditing, then if you think about, if I go for a system in January and I get certified in January, then February, March, April, May, I'll look at auditing different sections every month, just so that I'm not caught out by the end of the year and I haven't got a lot of work to do. Effectively, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at one of the sections in January, February. I mean, my advice is get onto your internal audits as quickly as you can and structure them out throughout the year. One thing that is fair to say is, Kate, that some clients have actually experience in auditing themselves, and some clients actually choose to do it in a very short time frame. Some clients will do it over a 2-day period. Others will do it over a 2-week or a 3-week period. But generally, when clients are implementing management systems for the first time, I think it's realistic to discuss a flexible approach where you look at sort of the next 12 months, so that we're not overfaced and we don't get what we call auditing fatigue. But yeah, I mean, the general requirement for audits and internal audit reports is at the end of the 12 months, when as an example, we'd come in and do an audit based on what you've done, we'd be looking to make sure that across the year that you've got a set of records that confirm that you've looked at your different processes and that you've audited them. Try not to leave it till 2 weeks before your external audit's due is my recommendation for that one. Any more questions? Please keep them coming. These are great questions. Let me have a look. Okay. Well, it doesn't look like we've got any more questions. Feel free. I'll give everybody a quick few seconds. If there's anything that you feel as I haven't answered and people have already asked a question, please feel free to give me another question. I'm not scared. Right. Okay then. Well, I don't think we've got any other questions. So just to recap, we will be sending out the presentation. You'll be receiving that in an email. You'll also you will be receiving some contact references in there. So within that email, there'll be some email addresses there that you can contact if you've got any additional questions. As I say, I hope it's been useful for the people that have attended there. I hope that we've given you some insights into ISOs and the different ISOs that are out there. There are many ISOs, believe me, but I think we've touched on the main ones that everybody attending today that'll be interested in. But as I say, feel free to ask any questions following on from the webinar through the email contacts that you will receive and through the copy of the actual presentation. So I'd like to draw this webinar to a close. I'd like to thank everybody for attending and for sticking with us. It's been very good. I've totally enjoyed the questions. So thanks for everybody who offered those questions, and I hope that we've answered everything there satisfactorily. And I'd just like to thank the team in the background, the moderator, and the marketing teams that's helped put the actual webinar together. So thanks for everybody that's been involved, and I wish you the best of the weekend. Thank you.